Okay, who owns the most expensive dress? All right, Melania Trump, an unspecified private collector, Martin Katz and Renee Strauss for their wedding dress, or Queen Letizia?
Go ahead.
I would say
D, Queen Letizia. Do you guys think he's right? No. What? You would accuse me of something so wretched. Okay. You don't think it's right. Okay. It is wrong. Going for it?
I get one guess?
This is your guess.
I'm going to go with C.
C, Martin Cass and Renee Strauss, wedding dress. Do you guys think that is correct? No. You guys are making this difficult. No. Okay, so I will give you each one more try. Joe?
I would say.
You have 50-50 shot, bud.
I'm going to get it wrong, so then you. I'm going to say Melania.
Melania, is that correct? No. Joe?
Unspecified.
Joe, you are disappointing me.
I'm
Okay,
sorry.
okay.
It's got to be,
It's the only last one.
I say B. Unspecified private collection.
Wow, you guys are very good.
Get to go to the moon. It's unspecified.
So just for the fun of this, who was the second one?
I'd say Melania.
No,
Terrible.
it was Queen Letizia.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
my D.
yeah, it's something about $10 million for a dress. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, 10 million. I even had it up there. Oh no, I'm wrong. Martin Katz and Renee Strauss's wedding dress. Oh, no, get back here. Get that. No, I'm kidding you. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Give him a hand. All right. Okay, we are excited to have our worship team back tonight. Hopefully you're learning some new songs. Hopefully you can kind of just dig in and just enjoy this time of just fellowship and just edification. Join me in prayer, and I'm going to have our worship team come on up. Father, thank you so much for your love for us, Father, for entrusting us with not only wealth, but with gifts and with your love, that we can be good and faithful stewards of those things, Father. We want to hear those words, well done, good and faithful servant. And Father, we just want to serve you in every way and always. In Jesus' name, amen.
Here's the invitation, right? Stand up to start. And then as we progress, if you want to sit down, that's okay. But I find that when we're dealing with something as stressful as money, it's a good idea to stand up and just move around a little bit, right? Okay, let's go.
Loosen it up.
Yeah. I set my sights on shiny things that crumble into rust, that fade into the dust. I bought the lie that someday I would finally have enough, but it never is enough. So wake me up from this slumber that I'm in, to a brand new horizon. Oh Lord, give me eyes to see what I need don't cost a thing. You fill my life with something money can't buy. I'm done chasing after gold. Rip the price tag off my soul. You fill my life with something money can't buy. Something money can't buy. Something money can't buy.
That's when you realize who the gift it is to be alive. Oh
so costly thing. You fill my life with something money can't buy. I'm done chasing after gold, with the price tag off my soul. You fill my life with something money can't buy. This slumber that I made, take me to a brand new horizon. See that money don't cost a thing. You fill my life with something money can't buy. I'm done chasing after gold, rip the price tag off my soul. You fill my life with something money can't buy. I'm done chasing after gold, rip the price tag off my soul. You fill my life with something money can't buy. Something money can't buy. Something money can't buy. Empty-handed, crying out from the pit of my despair. There you were, in the shadows, holding out your hand, you met me there. And now where would I be without you? Where would I be, Jesus? You were the voice in the desert, calling me out in the dead of night, fighting my battles for me. You were my rescue story, lifting me up from the ashes, carried my soul from death to life, bringing me from glory to glory. You are my rescue story. You are my rescue story. You are. You were writing the pages before I had a name, before I needed grace. Singing songs of redemption. Every time I ran away, you were louder than my shame. Where would I be without you? Where would I be, Jesus? You were the voice in the desert, calling me out in the dead of night, fighting my battles for me. You were my rescue story, lifting me up from the ashes, carried my soul from death to life, bringing me from glory to glory. You were my rescue story. You never gave up on me. You never gave up on me. You are my testimony. You never gave up on me. You never gave up on me. You are my testimony. You were the voice in the desert, calling me out from the dead of night, fighting my battles for me. You were my rescue story, lifting me up from the ashes, carrying my soul from death to life, bringing me from glory to glory. You were my rescue story.
dollar to my name. I've had friends who walked away, and I've even lost myself a time or two. There were bridges crossed and burned. Through all the wreckage I have learned, there's somewhere that I could never lose. If I got Jesus, I've got all that I could ever need. Take the world away from me and I'll be okay. If I got Jesus, there's a hope that's living deep inside. Joy I could never hide in a safe place to fall. If I've got Jesus, I've got it all. I've seen weakness turn to strength. I've seen failures met with grace. And it's not from what I've done, it's Christ in me. A miracle I can't explain. Oh, He's given me His name. I'm the richest gal that I could ever be. If I got Jesus, I've got all that I could ever need. Take the world away from me, I'll be okay. If I got Jesus, there's a hope that's living deep inside, a joy that I could never hide, a safe place to fall. If I've got Jesus, I've got it all. Oh, someday the trumpet's gonna sound, and the King of Heaven will ride upon the clouds, coming down. I hit my knees, oh, and sings my soul. I'm going home. If we've got Jesus, we've got all that we could ever need. Take the world away from me and we'll be okay. If we got Jesus, we've got a hope that's living deep inside, a joy that we could never hide, and a safe place to fall. If we've got Jesus, we've got it all. If you've got Jesus, ooh, you've got it all.
So in Mark chapter 8, we read that Jesus says, he's calling the crowd to join his disciples. He said, anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat. I am. Don't run from suffering, embrace it. Follow me and I'll show you how. Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way, my way, to saving yourself, your true self. What good would it do to get everything you want and lose you, the real you? What could you ever trade your soul for?
People say, I don't want to gain the whole world and lose my soul. I don't want to gain the whole world and lose my soul. The people say, I don't want to gain the whole world and lose my soul. I don't wanna gain the whole world and lose my soul. And lose my soul.
Come on up, Roger.
Right, bud.
Yep, I got it. It's mine. Okay. Has anyone read the book yet? Read part of it? What do you guys think? Yeah. It is. It's easy to read too. It's kind of almost like a beach book, kind of. You can read it at the beach. It's not like so intense. It has different sections. I liked it a lot. So I'm going to recap from last week. The Bible has a lot to say about money. I think there's 2,350 verses about possessions and money. And almost half of Jesus' parables were on money. It's really important how we deal with money. The other thing we talked about is a battle is his, and we need to show up. And we went over some places in the Bible where it shows that there's lots of instances of that. And the real power is in the natural you and the spiritual God working together. You're like a team, especially when you're going through money issues. And we're going to talk about assets under management real quick. I don't know, did anyone get to do that exercise, finding out what their assets under management was? A few of you? Good. Well, on the back of the handout, we put in, I don't know if I have it here. But anyways, oh yeah, it's on the back. We have the examples of doing it if you need that. But it's a really good exercise. The interesting thing is the author of the book, Bob, and his wife, they decided to calculate theirs. This is, I think, like 20 years ago, something like that. And theirs was a negative 13,000. And so a lot of people are in the negative, especially if you have student loans or credit card debt, and don't feel bad about that. There's tools in this book to get out of debt. And if you have good assets under management right now, we're going to show you how you can increase them. This week we're going to work on saving all you can by looking at tools in the Bible on how to save money. And then he has some real practical tools too. So we did this. Those of you that weren't here last week, assets minus debts. And these are your assets up here. And then on the other side are debts. So you just calculate those, what they are, and then you make it really simple. The one thing, I don't know if you remember last week, where if you want to know what the value of your home is, you can just go to Zillow, and it will give you a good ballpark. I usually subtract 6% for selling cost, but you can do that or not. And then Kelley Blue Book is a great way to go if you want to find out what the true value of selling your car is. Because if you want to do it right, you don't want to say, well, I'm going to sell it myself. And you can get a little more. If you're going to take it to a dealer or on a trade-in or something like that, then you'll have to lower the price. But it'll tell you all that stuff when you get in there. But anyways, it's you want to keep it simple. And then once you do it, you need to keep reviewing it. And we're going to talk about that later tonight in this right here. So setting priorities and counting the cost. So I'm going to tell a story. So counting the cost. So God and Adam were walking around in the Garden of Eden. And God comes up to Adam and he says, Adam, you are my greatest creation, and I don't think it's fair that you're alone. So what I'm going to do, I have a deal for you. I'm going to create a mate for you, and she's going to be perfect. She's going to be beautiful. She's going to be your best friend. She's never going to get you in trouble. And you're just going to love her, and you guys are going to love each other and be your soulmates. And so Adam goes, well, what's that going to cost me? And God says, an arm and a leg. And Adam goes, what can I get for a rib? So he was counting the cost. You got to count the cost. But it's pretty important when we buy things. So in our society, everything's consumer. I mean, they're always trying to sell you stuff. Not just in the stores. You go in a store and the way they place stuff, but in magazines, they send magazines. Online, it's crazy. They always seem to know what you've been looking for because those ads are always popping up. And it's kind of hard to resist. But one of the things we need to learn how to do is set priorities on your spending, also with your time, but set priorities on your spending. We're going to give you some tools for that today. The Bible says the wise man saves for the future, but the foolish man spends whatever he gets. And it's interesting, there's a lot of people that they don't put money away for things, like saving for a house. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. So the main rule in the book that he talks about, this is kind of the main thing that he talks about, is the never 100 rule. And the rule's simple. Never spend 100% of what's earned in a given month. Now, I've owned businesses and I've worked on commission pretty much my whole life. So anyone else here that has done that before does that now? So there's a way to do that. My wife is brilliant. I mean, we've owned a lot of businesses and I've done commission, but what we learned early on after making some mistakes is in your really good times, you need to put that money aside. You need to say, this money's for the future, and then we would just create a paycheck for ourselves. We would have the money in the bank, but we always had an income because when we had really good times, we would just get a regular paycheck. We would have the same, and we wouldn't, like if we did a really big deal or something like that, we wouldn't go and spend it all. So a lot of people, when they make a lot of money, they always try to figure out how they're going to spend it. But if you have like one of those uneven incomes, you need to be really careful with that. What we do with our business right now, we basically pay a payroll service to just write us the same check every month. So it's like we have a regular job, even though we get a lot of commission stuff. So, but this is a really important rule. So these next 4, it's called the straight A strategy of what we're going to be doing, is based on this right here. So it's less about what you make, it's more about what you do with it. So this is kind of interesting here. So the NBA, the average salary in the NBA is about $3 million a year. And the average NFL salary is about $800,000 a year. The sad thing is in the NBA, within 5 years after they're not playing anymore, 60% go broke. That's a lot of money to go through. 78% go broke in the NFL. And I've had a lot of clients who don't make a whole lot of money, but they were able to put money away because they were very careful with their money. They used biblical principles and just put money away. They just didn't impulsively buy a bunch of stuff. But it's very sad. So there's this guy named Parkinson, and this is his second law, and it's pretty simple. Expenses rise to meet income. And that's a really, it's pretty universal. When I've seen it, so I have a lot of clients too who make a lot of money, and they have a hard time, they were spending, they didn't have anything to show for it. And it's pretty crazy. So if you want to grow your AUM, you need to follow the Never 100 rule. And what is that again? It's pretty important. Now, here's what happens sometimes. I'll talk about that in a little while. Okay, so here's a straight A strategy. Number one is pay attention. We'll talk about that a little bit. So pay attention to your finances. Number two is make adjustments. We'll talk about that. Then you get accountability, and that's pretty hard with just a budget. We're going to talk about some alternatives to that. And then the last one is start automating. Pay attention. Can you show the video?
You know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just, sometimes it's like, there's this achy, I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
That sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just...
Don't.
Try to see things my way. Do I have to keep on talking till I can?
Wait.
It's just,
Oops.
there's all this pressure, you know?
Okay, so Carl Pearson is the father of statistics. So he was a 19th century mathematician, and he started the whole science of statistics. And there's this law that almost all businesses use it, but it works across all spectrums. So when performance is measured, performance improves. And adding to that, when performance is measured and reported back, the rate of improvement accelerates. So that's what we're going to focus on right now, on paying attention. And there's some tools we're going to look at. Be sure to know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds. So back in biblical times, one's wealth was in livestock and a little bit in gold and silver. So I think it's in Genesis 13:2. It says Adam was a wealthy man in livestock and gold and silver. But that's how, I mean, they didn't have credit cards or money so much. They basically traded sheep and camels and all that stuff. So, but that's what that verse is talking about, assets. So there's been a review of 138 studies on personal performance. They found one clear defining characteristic. Monitoring progress is the single most important key to success, and the same applies to money. So when you think about it, when an athlete, when they're training, let's say for the Olympics, they're always monitoring their progress. You need to just keep doing that. When you're on a diet, you're monitoring your progress by getting on a scale. Sometimes you're getting a tape and measuring how big you are. It's really important to do. It's important to just keep monitoring, and it also gives you, I'm trying to think of the right word. It just motivates you. It motivates you to keep working. So one of the ways to do that is there's this app. It's a program, but you can get it as an app on your phones. It's called Rocket Money. Has anyone here used that before? Do you like it? Yeah. I started using it after I read the book, and he had another one that he recommended in the book, but then he switched it to this one. I tried that one too, and this one I think is better. But I'll kind of talk about this right now. I think it's a really good app. It doesn't cost anything. You can get the free version, and it's kind of hard to get to. I talked to someone tonight who said they were trying to get to the free part. You can. You got to just kind of keep playing with it. But I pay $6 a month, and this is kind of crazy, I run my business on it now. I was paying $38 a month for QuickBooks, but the way my business is set up, this works perfect for it. I'm able to run the whole thing. But here's what's cool about it. So you can, if you can see right here on the right side, you can choose what you want it to do. So you can look, it'll say, I want to see what my current spending is, and it gives you prompts on how much you spent on this week. Your net worth, we know that as AUM. Your credit score, it just pops up your credit score. All of your accounts, so your credit card accounts, your bank accounts, pretty much all your accounts that you have, you put that in there, your IRAs, 401ks, all that stuff, you put it in there, and it links with this program called Plaid, and Plaid's very safe, but it just uploads it right into this, and then it has all the upcoming stuff. So it after a while, it remembers what's coming up, what bills are coming, and so you can prepare for that, make sure enough money's in there. Your recent transactions, it does your budget. It has this other feature where it'll give you recommendations on how to save money. So like homeowners insurance will say, oh, you're paying way too much for homeowners insurance for your area, and it will tell you so you can kind of shop around. It's very cool. It's a really good app. You can print reports or look at reports. It has all these graphs and everything. And again, it's free. Or you can get the deluxe version, the premier version, and it's like $6 a month. It's well worth it. I like it. So every morning what I do is I kind of look. I always like to check and see where things are going. So I get on there, and it has this, it kind of prompts you, and it says, you want to review your last transactions? So it pops up, and I make sure they're categorized correctly. It tries to categorize them, but you can kind of tweak it so you can get it exactly which category you want it in. But you can review them and just make sure things are going the way you want them to go. So that's the Rocket Money app, and that's good for measuring your performance and seeing right where you are. And that's a good thing. And there was one other thing I was going to say about this. I'll think of it in a second. Oh yeah, so monitoring your accounts. About 10 years ago, we always check our bank accounts and everything, and we had this charge on one of our debit cards that tied to our bank for Justin Bieber tickets down in Los Angeles. And so, but you got to monitor it because that stuff, it happens. So we think someone at a restaurant grabbed our card number and went to go see Justin Bieber. But the cool thing is the banks will cover that stuff. But anyways, that's Rocket Money, and I highly recommend it. And does anyone use Mint? Mint's an app. It used to be Quicken, I think. But this is the best one I've seen. And it's a great way to track your spending and everything. So there's this other rule called the Pareto principle, and that's the 80-20 rule. It's a pretty amazing rule. We use it in our business. So, I think about 7 years ago, we kind of noticed with the Pareto principle that 20% of our clients were causing 80% of our work. And they weren't the clients that were providing 80% of the money. And most of that was we were managing money. I was doing investment advice and stuff like that, but I was basically the one person doing it, and I just don't like having a lot of employees. And so we basically made the decision to kind of wean out of that. And then I set up my clients in a way, I set them up with portfolios where they didn't really need a money manager, or it was just on autopilot, just a click it and forget it type portfolio. and we did that. But also the Pareto principle works in churches. So like 80% of the money comes from 20% of the people. 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. It's an amazing rule, and it's pretty universal. The other thing, some of the other funny things are like 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of the artists in music. It's this principle, and it's amazing how well it works. But so we're going to use this to create the one category budget, because budgeting is not a whole lot of fun, especially when you got to check everything, because usually it's just one or two categories that are causing issues if you're having issues in your budget. And so that makes it really easy to do. And that's the thing about this book, is he tries to make everything as simple as possible. You know, having great results with not a whole lot of work. So the first thing, in every budget you have variable costs. Those things change. There's constantly changing. Then you have fixed costs. We're going to talk about variable costs first and what you can do. So one thing I want you to do now is write down what you think you spend each month on groceries, dining out, that includes Starbucks coffee, Amazon online purchases, and hobbies or recreation. So just kind of get a guess for it. Then what you're going to do this week is just see what you actually do. These are usually the big ones that cause trouble. Is everyone done? Okay. So that what you're going to do is compare what you actually do. Spend on those categories. So this guy right here, I'll kind of read this, but he basically he found out that he had one category that was really rough. So basically he wrote, the next month my spending total was literally cut in half. The important item to note here is that I did not make any special effort to save money. I simply had made my goal to write down everything I had spent that month. Let me repeat that. I made no extra effort to save money. I simply wrote down the item every time I spent money. So again, that goes back to Pearson's law. So just by acknowledging it and writing it down, you can save money. So that's what I recommend. We're going to kind of figure out this right here. So that's kind of the basis for the one category budget. And this is on the variable cost. So which category to you is the toughest to rein in? Write that down. Or circle the one that you know what you spend on that. When I read this, the first time in a book, I go, this is genius. Because it's, my wife and I, we've been doing a budget for a long time, and we're good at it now, but it's on autopilot. We don't really even have to look at our budget. It's ingrained into us. We kind of know it. And but there are certain categories that just, really hit you and you go, man, I'm spending a lot of money there. But by writing it down, and there's ways to write it down. You can use your phone, you can bring a notebook, but I would highly encourage somewhere, recording what you spend for a month and just see what it does. So pay attention. These are the fixed costs now. So now write down what you think you spend each month on cell phones, internet streaming cable, health insurance, and car and home insurance. And the thing I'm going to ask is, have you looked for lower cost alternatives without sacrificing quality? So I know one of the things my wife and I did that really saved us a lot of money was our cell phone. So our internet is Spectrum, and we kind of looked at, they had this deal about their mobile service, and it uses the same as Verizon. And I mean, it's great service. And I mean, it cut our bill by like $150. Pretty amazing. It's a lot. So those are types of things to look at, but just kind of shop around. A lot of times with cable, like I know people that have cable and stream, and they hardly use any of it at all. So I think that's another way people can cut big costs down, doing that way. Health insurance, we're going to talk a little bit about health insurance. Health insurance is another one. Do we have, how many people here have health insurance through their employer? Okay. And how about Medicare? So we have some people that pay for their own insurance in, some people. So if you do, this is, if you have Medicare or health insurance on your own, not through your employer, we'll talk about that a little bit because there's some huge savings there. That's when I do a lot of retirement planning for my clients, and health insurance, getting the health insurance part right is a big deal. I mean, they can save hundreds of dollars a month, thousands of dollars a year by getting the right Medicare plan. But for health insurance, there's a Nevada Health Link. It's part of the Obamacare. But subsidized silver plans, a lot of people won't even get health insurance. They don't have anything, and that's expensive in its own. Like if something happens to you and you don't have health insurance, it's not a good situation because I think hospitals are the worst at collecting. They keep hounding you and hounding you and hounding you, and it's bad. You might have to file bankruptcy and pretty crazy stuff. But the subsidized silver plan, you can get, it depends on, it's all based on your income, but you can get some really good deals like, you can make decent money and still maybe pay a couple $100 a month for a family, depending on how much you make. But your co-pays are low, your maximum out-of-pocket costs are low, but I highly recommend, figuring, what you're going to do about your health insurance if you don't have it or you're paying a lot for it now. Another one is there's Christian share care plans such as MediShare, and we like Samaritan Ministries and MediShare. So my wife and I our business, we do health insurance for our clients, but we actually did Samaritan Ministries for, I think, 10 years because getting health insurance on our own was going to be way too much money. So we ended up doing Samaritan Ministries, and it was great. But MediShare is really good too. But those are things to look at as well. But you can save a lot of money, and both of these, the MediShare and the Samaritan Ministries, like you talk to them on the phone and they want to pray with you, and it's really nice service. The other one is Medicare. So there's two choices for people that have Medicare. One is Medicare Advantage. And Medicare Advantage is it's a privately run Medicare plan, and that's a really good way to go up here in northern Nevada. Basically, I don't think you pay anything. Almost all the plans here, the good ones, you don't pay anything for them, but you get dental, you get chiropractic, you get a card to buy over-the-counter items, but it's a really good way to go. And then sometimes, depending on the needs, a Medicare supplement, like if you travel a lot, Medicare supplements are good, but then that goes with Medicare. And the thing about Medicare supplements, if you go that route, you need to shop around. Same with Medicare Advantage, but you should shop around every year and make sure you're getting the best plan for you. But on Medicare supplements, so like a Plan G with, let's say, United Health and a Plan G with, let's say, Physicians Mutual, they have exactly the same benefits, but one could cost $100 more a month than the other one. And then the same thing with Part D drug plans. It's really good to shop around. I mean, it's a good thing to do. If you have your employer coverage, then you're set there. But this is a big savings I see for a lot of people too. So again, now you want to decide how you're going to track your spending for the next week. Just kind of figure this out. If you want to do a paper notepad, that's a pretty easy way to go. The Rocket Money app will help you because it tracks it for you. You just have to look at it and just kind of be aware of what it's doing. And you can also do notes in your phone. You can either put it in your calendar, or you can just pull up the notes and type it in there. But it's really a good idea to track what you're doing with your money. Pay attention to your flock. Making adjustments. This is the next part. So, I think this is a really good exercise to do. So, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. You need to make adjustments. Now, there's some people that get in a hole, like, let's say, big medical expense, or they get defrauded of money, or they have large credit card debt. I mean, something happens. Sometimes you can't follow the never 100 rule. Sometimes it's just really hard to do, but it's kind of like being in a boat in the middle of a lake and you got like 8 holes in it. You got to patch up as many holes as you can. You just got to try and just stop from sinking till you can get ashore and kind of get caught up. Just make it happen. So this emergency budget here is really cool. So I think it's good for everyone to do. Ava and I did one just to figure out the minimum that we could survive on without, overspending. So like what you do is can you guys see it pretty good? Yeah. So on giving, you don't want to change your giving. But eating out, so like when you're in dire, so let's say you lost a job and you're living on like maybe half the income you were before. So instead of spending $300 a month eating out, you would spend $0, okay? So this is the type of thing you do. Groceries, it actually would go up from $300 to $400 because you're not eating out so much. You'd have to fill in the food. And anyways, entertainment, just see what you could do without doing entertainment. But anyways, you go through this whole thing, and like on this example right here, they saved $1,000 a month and almost $13,000 a year by doing this. But again, this is just a good exercise. I think it brings peace of mind to go, you know what? If things went really bad, we could still survive. But it just takes willpower. But I think that's a really good exercise for people to do. Getting accountability. Now, this is tough with a budget. So when you have a budget, it's really easy to cheat. Really easy to cheat. So, it's creating friction. That's how you create accountability. So there's ways to create friction, and we're going to go over some of those. So does anyone know what friction means for accountability? Resistance, yeah, resistance. So you can control spending by creating friction on some of the problem categories. So let's say you set a budget for $600 a month for your groceries, but you're spending $1,000, okay? So some of the suggestions are a separate checking account, a reloadable gift card. I kind of like that one. That one to me kind of appeals. It's not as many moving parts. You would just fill it, let's say you wanted to be at 600, so you can only buy groceries with that one reloadable gift card. So you would just take that, and once it was done, you couldn't buy any more groceries. So that's giving you accountability. So that's one way to do it. And then you can go old school and just do cash in the envelope. That was kind of the old methods that I think Dave Ramsey taught that, and some of the other ones too. But that's one way to do it. So for online purchases though, that's a tough one for a lot of people. So one of the suggestions was just pick one day per week that you make online purchases, or at least wait 24 hours before clicking buy. That's something I use a lot. Like I'll see something and then I wait and then I go, that's not gonna change me. I mean, I'm still gonna be the same person without it. It's not a big deal, I don't need it. So I have time to kind of think about it, and so I don't click buy, I wait. And then I sometimes never buy it. The other thing, this is another way to create friction. So it's not just Amazon, it's like other places, like some people like magazines with certain clothes that they like, and they have their credit cards stored on that site. Well, they suggest don't save your credit card info on the site, so you have to enter it every time, and then you just go, forget it. When it's really easy to click a button, you're creating friction. You want to create friction. It's really hard in the world we live in now because it's so consumer. They're just constantly bombarding you with stuff to buy things. But these are some ways you can go to stop this. And start automating. So financially successful people don't depend on willpower, but will find a way to make important decisions, financial decisions, automatic. So you make a single good decision, it makes hundreds of good decisions for you, and that would be like automating. So you find a way to automate your finances. We're going to talk about some good things to automate. How many people do automate right now with some of their finances? What do you do? Pardon? That's awesome. Yeah, it makes it easy, huh? Yeah. I tithe. I do my tithing that way. It just makes it really easy to do it. It's great. Now, there's some other things we can do too. So the IRS got really smart. It was in the 40s when World War II started. So before this happened, every quarter you had to pay your taxes. You had to write a check or somehow pay your taxes to the IRS. And then the IRS got really smart during World War II. They said, you know what, we're going to make the employers collect the money. And after a while, what happens is people don't care. They go, oh yeah, I go, how much did you pay in taxes? They go, oh man, I got money back. I go, no, but how much did you pay? They actually are paying money, but they don't even think of it that way. But it's a really smart way to do things by automating. And so you can do the same thing. So these are some suggestions to automate. So we talked about giving. So if you don't have emergency savings, so it's really important, try and get at least $3,000, but eventually you want to get at least like 3 months living expenses would be nice to do. But you can automate taking money and setting it aside into a separate account, like an emergency savings account. But one of the things I want to talk about here is, as Christians, when you get into financial trouble, what you don't want to do is immediately go to a credit card or emergency savings to take care of it. You gotta go to God. I mean, God, He's worked miracles in mine and my wife's life, but go to Him first, and a lot of times He can solve the problems for you. But that emergency savings is really important to have. Having that in case. But what happens is people get in credit card issues. They have a lot of trouble with credit cards. because they just go, well, I'll just put it on a credit card. And then we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but the interest rates of credit cards is insane. It's criminal, I think. So another thing to automate is your retirement accounts. So if you have a job and a 401k or 403b, they automate that. They take that out pre-tax, right? Well, you can do the same thing for yourself. You can say, okay, when this money comes in, you're never going to see it, but you can have it automated from your bank to go into like Charles Schwab or wherever you have it going. You can have that done. And that's important to do. Again, you don't see the money. It just kind of goes into that new account. College savings is a big deal, putting money away for college. And we're going to talk about college in a minute here, about the value of college. But like for your kids, I know Ava and I are putting away money for our grandchildren, for their college, or for something. You're starting a business or a trade school or whatever, or college, whatever they want to do. But another one is wedding savings. And if you're planning on getting married, just putting money away for the wedding. Vacations. This is a biggie here, buying a house. Buying a house savings. But just having that money go to an account where you can get a down payment for a home. And we're going to spend some time on that next week on purchasing a home. If you don't, it's one of the quickest ways to acquire assets, to build your AUM. But so consumer debt. Car loans, I recommend not getting a loan for them unless you have to. I don't think you should do that, but they're pretty low. It's not like credit cards. So there's 3 rules for credit cards, and that is don't use them for discretionary spending and never have a balance. What was the other one? I had the other one on here. I can't think of it right now. But don't take cash advances. Yeah, absolutely. And don't go to these like dollar loan center places either. I have a niece, and it was funny. So she had a really nice wedding ring, and she thought she was so smart. She would go, every month she would go get money. She'd take her ring and pawn it, and then she would get paid, and then she would pay. Anyway, she thought that was like, but she would do that every month at a pawn shop, and she'd pawn it and get a loan on it, but it ended up costing her a lot of money because they charge interest on that as well. But student loans. So here's the thing about colleges now. I kind of like what Roger's son calls them. He calls them colleges and universities atheist factories. I know 2 families, great Christian families, and the kids were raised in the church. Well, these 2 separate families, they sent their children to college, and the kids won't even talk to them now. They won't, they just got so radicalized in school, they won't even talk to them. And it's just, you got to be really careful with college. And I think I went to college, and it was good for what I was in the sciences, and it was good for me. But a lot of people, they don't even know why they're going to college, and they major in things, and then they end up owing all this money on student loans. When I went to college, I was able to pay my way through it. My family was poor, so I had to put myself through college, but I worked in the library and got some Cal grants and had no debt when I was out. But a lot of people, I don't know, I think trade schools are a great way to go, or kind of teaching your kids how to start a business sometimes if they're kind of geared that way. I think that's a good idea, but that's something to really think about as a parent about your kids going to school and stuff like that. And for students too, to think about student loans. It's amazing. There's a lot of people that have $100,000 in student loans, and it's hard for them to pay because they don't have a good job to pay it off. But consumer debt is try to avoid it if possible, and we're going to talk about the debt snowball here in a minute. So the average American pays $7,000 in interest a year. I think that's kind of low. I think this is done a couple years ago. I think it's a lot higher than that now. But the one, mortgage interest, I know Dave Ramsey says you should pay off a house. I think it shouldn't be a universal thing. I think different people have different ideas, and so I think that one makes sense to have. That's a personal choice on that one. And but a lot of people, it makes them feel really good, and I mean they're not spending as much money, but it is a low interest rate. But car loans, they're not too bad. I think they're about 5% now. And sometimes you can get a really good deal. But student loans, it just depends. I mean, I don't like student loans. You know the cost of college right now, why it's so high? Because of student loans. There's so much money flooding into the system now, they keep raising the prices of tuition. When you go to any college, they have all these like big cranes building new buildings and hiring people. It's crazy. But it's because it's like inflation, but it's college inflation. And it's a lot of money that they're spending. And then credit cards are the worst. They're just so bad. And if you got to get a handle on credit cards, never carry a balance. That's the one thing I highly recommend you never do. And my wife, we have a credit card because we get points, and we travel. We don't spend a whole lot of money traveling because of that. Get free airline flights and stuff like that. But always pay off the balance. You always have to pay off the balance. And there's some people that just can't handle credit cards. I'm sorry. It's just really hard for them. That's a kind of an interesting thing too. In the 50s, if you wanted any loan, there was no credit cards. In the 50s, you had to go to a bank and tell them why you needed the money to buy, and you could pretty much only get it for like buying a house or like starting a business. But it was like this big experiment, and it's amazing. In the 50s, there was hardly any personal debt, consumer debt, and now I think it's like, it's insane amount of money that people owe on their credit cards and on credit. And it's something that we live with now, but it's not right. We've got to get out of it. So they have this thing called the debt snowball. And Dave Ramsey, this is the one thing I really like about Dave Ramsey. He has his debt snowball thing that he came up with. Well, there's a debt snowball calculator, and I have it on Excel, and I'm trying to figure out how to get this. We'd like to get it maybe on a church system. If not, I can put it on my site where you can just download it yourself. But what's really cool about it, you plug in the numbers, and then you put it in there, and it does your calculations for you how you can pay down debt. And it's really important to do. If you have debt, you want to have no debt with the exception of mortgage. But it's interactive. You put a number in, and then it will automatically calculate how much you need to pay for each thing. So we're going to summarize. The Never 100 rule: never spend 100% of your income in a month. And it's less about what you make, it's more about what you do with it. To do this successfully, you need to pay attention to your accounts. So the interesting thing about paying attention, so when you are driving and you see a policeman what do? You slow down. That's kind of like how this whole rule works. So you just you're paying attention and you go, oh, okay, I got to think about what I'm doing. And then you can use Rocket Money or a similar app, or you can write it down in a notebook. Then you want to make adjustments when necessary. And then you want to create accountability by creating friction and start automating. And then we talked about consumer debt and savings, health insurance savings. But start looking around for things that you can save money on, like especially on your fixed accounts, and then figure out how to put friction on your spending on other things, your variable cost. If you have an issue with that, just come up with that. Then next week, we're going to talk about earning all you can. So we're going to focus on present and future income. the thing about personal finance, it's a math problem. So you have income, and then you have expenses. So if you can raise your income, that helps a lot. That really helps you to kind of get out of debt if you're in debt. But there's some really cool things you can do to make yourself more valuable. A job is basically trading your time for dollars. That's what a job is. But what you want to do is you want to really enjoy that job because it's not like you're working. I found mine 20 years ago. When I started getting into this, I've owned businesses, but when I started getting into this business 20 years ago, I knew it was where God wanted me to be. And I love what I do. I was going to retire a few years ago, and I didn't really want to, but my wife kind of wanted me to. But God just said no. He goes, you got to keep doing this. You need to keep doing what you're doing. So why do some people earn $400 an hour and others earn $18 an hour? We're going to tell you why. And we're also going to show you how to increase your earning potential. The easiest way is find God's calling in your life. Do what God wants you to do. You find His will in your life. And then making yourself more valuable to your employers and clients. Okay, so if you work for someone, we're going to show you how you can make yourself more valuable to your employer, and that's kind of following the Christian principles. And then if you work for yourself, making yourself more valuable to your clients. Then we're going to talk a little bit about home ownership. We're going to talk about business ownership. There's some cool things about that you can do. We're going to talk about future income planning, life and disability insurance. That's kind of important. Life insurance is pretty important because that's kind of on the income side. So is disability. In case, like if the main breadwinner passes away, if you have a young family, it's not good. You need to replace that income. And same with disability insurance. Then I'm going to talk about Social Security, IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, retirement accounts. Then I'm going to talk about the psychology of investing, how to buy stocks on sale, buying low and selling high, and low-cost diversified growth portfolio that pays dividends. So I'm going to give you guys a handout of it's a really good portfolio that I give it. That's how I set up all my clients who were with me before. And it's a good portfolio that pays great dividends and it doesn't cost you anything. And it's a very low cost ratio and everything. But anyways, we're going to go over that. So any questions so far? No? So homework. If you haven't finished the AUM calculations, read through part 1, save all you can, through page 87 if you haven't already, and then do the kickstart exercises on page 155. Just read through them, at least. And then optional, so you'll be ready for next week, read section 2, that's pages 95 through 153 to get prepared. And think about what your problem category is and your plan to create friction in that category. And then try automating something. Automate something. Go to your bank or do it with the Rocket Money app or whatever. And then I have some questions for you. And it's on that sheet that we gave you, these questions. But the questions are, what surprised you by the results? So it's just going to be small groups at your table. But what surprised you by the results of the AUM exercise? How much do you estimate that you need to earn to never have any money worries again? This is a good one. Yeah, just come up with something. What do you think you have to earn per month or per year to never have money worries again? But remember the football players and the basketball players. And is your current budget holding you accountable? And then we already did this one. Write down how much you guess you spend in the following categories. And this last one, what is your why? Why do you want to get better control of your finances? That's an important question. And that's it.